overall, I thought it looked pretty fair, except for some wild. Seriously, go through it. Leave some total for this. There's a 150% increase in total. What's the justification? Well, they should say that. They should say that. You know.
I mean, obviously the service costs, because they just changed over a couple of months, and like right now, my fax machine, fax line also costs a security alarm, fire alarm, that's all those things are working, and just trying to get some alcohol alarm just to get it to function again, and that's a service charge and all that stuff.
But you know, it's things like that. And you figure out what's
Yeah, and one bench in the middle that you gotta leave back there. You can't tell you. Yeah, it's a walking back.
Yeah. So the tax bill is certified by special. Yeah. They weren't too happy that they were not even included. Living well, older. Because they found out.
It needs to be a funding like a 15 months on facilities.
From our environmental building. Like it's a queen bee.
They use the trailer park?
She's still went up. Who's budget?
Because everything is, when they haul the stones all, that's why they don't use.
Still went up. Could we develop that out?
Trailer.
2 million, you know, with.
Crazy because all I'm talking about is not business. They can't, it's right next door. Oh, it has to do, okay. I see where that comes, I see where that comes from now.
I got that.
You know, yeah. Paper.
This is exactly what there is in my backyard.
Usable.
Our company just came up for a copy, and we're just running with our son because she's still working, no problems, so I don't see the reason to get it. Can't see the
Are you sure? Are you rent or you?
It's rental.
Ooh, you're good.
But,
Do you do with the bidding? Or does the city do the bidding?
Mic up.
Busy place. Good night.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to the Monday, March 16th, 2026 City Council meeting. Roll call, all councilors are present. Deputy Mayor, would you like to do the invocation?
Absolutely. Please join me in being the attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment in making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts, and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Everyone would rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 is a declaration of conflict of interest. Is there any counselor who would like to declare one at this time? Okay. Item number 5 is public forum, and I just would like to mention we do have an item on the agenda that's a public hearing to discuss the municipal budget. So if there's anyone here to speak about the municipal budget, I would ask you to wait to speak during the public hearing. Otherwise, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Please come on up and state your name and address.
My name is Bruce Hagelstein. I live here in Caribou on Coolidge Avenue. The one thing I'd like to voice my concern on is I just read on the website, I believe it's been in the paper, about the elimination of the spring cleanup of the city. I have a concern with that. I don't know how you're gonna get that word out to everybody, but I'm telling you, people are still gonna put things out in anticipation that it's gonna be picked up. And the city's gonna look pretty lousy. And I would really consider, like you folks, to consider holding off on that until you have a better game plan on putting that in place. I read the whole memo on that. It concerned on safety for the employees and so forth. But you folks know as well as I do, some of that stuff, people taking advantage of it and putting things that shouldn't be in there, that's been going on for years. It's no different now than it was 10 years ago. So I really think, I look at this as it's kind of a backdoor way to cut on budget a little bit, but a lot of people depend on that to get their places spruced up for the summer and so forth. We've had ice storms, people have limbs down, there's all kinds of things out there, and I would really want to emphasize to please review that again, and if all possible, renege it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hagelstein. I will say that is going to be something we talk about tonight. I think it's under 9D, so we will be talking about that, and I think that there are some other folks that have similar concerns, Mr. Hagelstein. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Okay. Item number 6 are minutes, and we do have minutes from the February 23rd regular City Council meeting, as well as minutes from the March 2nd special City Council meeting. Those are start on page 2 of your packet and go through page 12. What are the wishes of the council with the minutes?
Almost late.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Knight Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Oop. Item number 8 is, we have nothing under item 7. Item number 8 is public hearings and possible action items, and so this is our public hearing on the 2026 municipal budget, which starts on page 13 of your packet. Get to page 13 of my packet. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:05 p.m. And Manager Thompson, is there anything you wanted to mention about this before we open this up to discussion? I think it's straightforward. Okay. And I didn't know, Deputy Mayor Smith, if you wanted to discuss anything. I think you had something you wanted to discuss about capital.
Yeah, you want me to do that, or I can do that at
We
the
can,
end?
we can wait, until the end. That's
We
fine.
had a meeting recently since the budget workshop. I can update on that, but.
Okay. So what I would do now is, I think, open this up to any member of the public who would like to speak on the budget. Please come on up. And again, state your name and address.
Name is Bruce Hagelstein, live in Caribou on Coolidge Avenue. A couple of things. I spent a good part of the morning, once I found the budget on the website, and I went through all 105 pages of it, which was
God bless you.
time-consuming, but it's a typical budget. One thing I would like to point out is whenever you have greater than 50% or more increase on any line item, there should be justification for that. Doesn't matter what that 50% is, how much, it needs to be justified. One thing I noticed by going through all those pages is telephones. I go for the non-sexy things. Telephones, 150% increase. My question is, why? Cell phones. My question to you folks on cell phones, how many cell phones does the city issue under the city budget to certain people. My question on cell phones also is, if they're issued and they have a cell phone, they carry it with them. You folks know as well as I do, they use it for personal phone calls. There should be a charge placed on that. When I was working, I was required to have a cell phone, but we had a charge of every pay period about $7, which took care of the personal phone calls that was made on it. You need to look at these things in detail. The other thing is, on all these items of 50% or more, need to ask the question, is it a want or is it a need? Big question on that. Everybody wants things, but you gotta look at the hard tax and say, is it needed? Or is it required by the state? Or is it a new requirement, a new law, something like that? A lot of those things, there's no explaining as far as why the increases. One in particular that really caught my eye on the website was actually page 42 of the budget, and it's under Caribou Emergency Management and Caribou Emergency Management. And it's the last item. It says Maintenance Community Center. Excuse me, miscellaneous expense, 01901, miscellaneous expense. You had in 24, you had nothing in 23, you had $133 in 24, $100 in 25. Then we jumped to $4,500. Why? What's the explanation for that? That's an increase of 4,400%. There's got to be an explanation of why the increase. Again, is it a want or a need? These things need to be explained, and I really think you need to go back and, for lack of a better term, put the heat on a little bit and start asking questions of why. And is it really needed? Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? Okay, I would open the discussion up to the council.
We have an agenda item later in the meeting to discuss budget. Do you want to hold our comments until then?
You don't have to, it can be
Okay.
part of the public hearing.
No. I'll wait.
Deputy Mayor, did you want to update?
I can,
on-
yeah, just an update. We did after the budget workshop we held last Monday at the Lions Building. There was some, we had three meetings for the capital budget, and there was some concerns and some things to look into. So we met again on Friday, and we're waiting for some more information. We'll have that back to the council as far as some of the adjustments we may make. So we'll definitely have it for the April 13th meeting. Or we'll get it out, as soon as we get it, we'll get it out to the council and get it out.
Have we gotten any word on the leasing? I
That's
know we
what-
put that, is that what we're talking about?
That's what we're waiting for.
Okay,
I can-
thanks, yes.
We're gonna look into that option, and we're gonna hopefully have a Zoom meeting with a couple of different individuals that the chief is setting up for us, so that's what we're waiting on.
Okay.
So later in the meeting, when we discuss the budgets, I think we're being asked to approve or to consider approving the entire budget, all three elements. Since the capital budget is not ready, is it permissible to approve like the expense and the revenue budget this time around and do the capital later, or should we wait until they're all ready?
You should, in my opinion, you should wait till they're all ready, because we can't just enter one of the three in trio anyway. So it's not like next month your finance and your financial reports would have like a column with the budget, because until all three are done, we can't enter any.
Okay,
into trio.
all right, thank you.
And we'll, like I said, we'll get that information just as soon as we can. And we're being aggressive about it.
Anything further? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:11 PM. Okay, and again, since we're discussing this further on in the agenda, I think we can move on. Item number 9 is reports by staff and committees, and the first report will be about the fire station project, and we have Amanda Jondro here with us. If you want to come on up.
Good evening, counselors. So last week I issued out a 95% set for the fire station renovation. I can walk through kind of the renovations that are planned or answer any questions that you guys have. Specific questions?
What she's.
Yep.
Yeah, the big packet.
Yeah.
Were there any significant changes from the design development package that we approved earlier?
Nope, just more details. We had to we had to add an additional door into the dormitory for egress because it is on an elevated floor, so you can't use a window as an egress window. So that is a little bit of a plan change, but other than that, there's no big plan changes from DD.
Okay. Anyone have any other questions?
None.
Okay, I'd entertain any motion from the council.
Sure. Make a motion to approve the construction documents as presented by Harriman and put the project out to bid.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
What's the timeframe on the
For
bid?
issue for bid.
Yeah, well, I mean, when they have to have the bids back to us.
So it's going to take us a couple weeks to package everything up and get it ready to go. We usually like to give at least 4 weeks. For more complicated renovations, it would be more than that, but we typically look at 4 weeks or 30 days.
Good project.
Okay.
I agree.
So we would look at bringing it back in May, is what it sounds like. Because you've got a couple.
Your bids
weeks-
would be
yes.
here for May.
Yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and
Yes.
for the
Yes.
council meeting in May.
Yeah. Well,
Because we'll have to have some time between the time they come back, in
right,
case we have to
right.
do any value engineering, my least 2 favorite words in 16.
We like engineering. We like value.
Yeah.
We don't like them
We don't
together.
like them together.
Yeah, we should pick a date. I've got to set up a couple meetings with you and
Okay.
Chief.
Mhm.
So we should look at the date and when the council
Yep.
meetings
Great.
are. Yeah.
Perfect.
There's gonna be pre-bid and all that stuff too as well.
There'll be a
Yeah.
pre-bid, mandatory pre-bid walkthrough. There'll be, so a pre-bid meeting, and then we'll have bid opening here.
Great.
Yep.
Any other further questions?
What's your timeline for completion on the project? Do you have one that you're kind of thinking?
We think it's going to be about 6 months. The nice thing about this renovation is it's all interior, except for the ADA ramp outside of the Lions Club, but it's mostly interior work. So, whether I know everybody likes the summertime too, but there is a little bit of we're not forced to fit within the summer timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Knight Fair? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 9B is an update. 9B and 9C are updates from Councilor Bagley on the Planning Board and the Airport Advisory Committee. So I'll let you go ahead and get started on that.
Okay, thank you. On the planning board, so the planning board met on the 12th. A public hearing was held during that planning board meeting on the steam plant, and specifically the analysis of brownfield cleanup alternatives, the ABCA that you've heard about. And so our qualified environmental professional came in and briefed us up on kind of their process in doing the study. And they walked through like 3 options for remediation for the steam plant. The 3 options were like do nothing. The second option was to preserve the building but remove all of the hazardous things. And then the third one was to knock down the building entirely and clean up the entire site. So after their analysis, they made a recommendation which was approved by the EPA to knock down the building. So that is great news for us. That building will be gone and all of the hazardous materials will be removed. And what's better is this is being done under a grant from the EPA of $4 million. So this is all, there's no city match as far as I know.
Nope,
deferred.
100%.
I thought that was a significant achievement for the city and worthy of a report for you all. And that was it. Oh, one more thing. There is a public comment period. I'm not sure what the status is of where that public comment is being taken on a website or something like that. Are we doing this, or is the engineer doing this?
We're doing this.
We
So
are
they
doing
can-
it.
They can reach out to me. There's some information on the website too.
Okay, good. So go look at the city website, and you'll find a way to
Yep.
do the public comment. And those public comments are due on the 3rd of April. Included in your package on that is just a couple diagrams of whether the site location and specifically where the steam plant is.
Am I correct?
questions for
yeah,
me on that?
I have one.
Yeah.
Am I correct in remembering that we're one of 10? Is it one of 10 cities that got this large of an award nationwide?
Yep.
So it's a big
It
deal.
was a
It's a
very
really big deal.
competitive grant.
Yeah.
So both the steam plant and the diesel plant will be gone.
The
Be
diesel plant
nice.
should be coming down this week. I was out there Tuesday. So this is where it
That's
is, right
amazing.
on our homepage.
There it
So
is.
it's like the first post.
Good news.
I know. Yeah.
Just a quick question, are you looking for public comment to support the project, or what kind of public comments are you looking for? Do you need something from the citizens?
Well, yeah, if people want to go on and say, yes, we need to get this out of here, I mean, Tuesday when I was there, it was because someone broke in and knocked over a transformer, spilling 20 gallons of transformer oil, which the PCBs have been removed, but because there's a chance that it could have hazardous material, we had to get Allen Sanitation in there to clean it up. You know, and there's still drains in there, so we had to make sure it didn't get in that. So that's why it's so important to get, you know, all of this hazardous material out of the community, because we can't keep people out, so they're dragging it through everywhere.
I was just curious if you needed, like, people
Yep.
to say positive things to help
Yes.
help the case for it, but it sounds like it's already said.
Well, we have the money, I mean, but it is good to just support the project so that they know that the public is supportive of our efforts to clean up the community.
Thank you.
We've been very fortunate with our EPA brownfields funding.
Yeah.
All right, Councilor Bagley, Airport Advisory Committee.
Okay, thank you. The Airport Advisory Committee met on the 10th of March. You have an update in your packet. During my last report, I think 2 meetings ago, I mentioned that the Airport Committee had put together kind of a laundry list of different things that they wanted to do. It must have been 12 different items, and I asked them to go and prioritize those and give us your top 3 or 4. And so they've done that. And so I'm coming back to council now with what they came up with. There are 4 items, and you can read through, you know, all the details of those, but first and foremost is safety and security upgrades and enhancements. We have no lights. We do not have sufficient lighting outside. We have no security cameras. It's very easy with limited knowledge to get into the building. We need to secure that building. I'm surprised we haven't had problems in the past. And in addition to that, all of the furniture and fixtures throughout that place are literally vintage 70s, 80s furniture. It's falling apart, it's tears in the sofas and all that. So we need to kind of upgrade the furniture. So that's that first one, safety, security, and furnishings. There's a strong feeling that we need to bring Jet A fuel into the airport to attract, to support turbine engine aircraft like Life Flight, because when they come and they operate out of Caribou, they got to run to Presque Isle to fuel up. And they came up with a very innovative solution to that, kind of an interim solution. Instead of building tank farm and having underground tanks or above ground tanks, they found a mobile trailer that will hold a 500-gallon tank of Jet A fuel that could serve customers as they come in. And you might even be able to buy 2 of them and have one on a hot spare while the other one is running to get refueled. This would attract a lot of additional traffic to the airport, for sure, and it would accommodate rotor aircraft, and that's in their plan as well, to build a helipad at some point in the future. So Jet A is the second one. The third one was hangar space. We are maxed out on our hangars. There are no hangars regionally. There is, I think, 0 hangars available. Wait lists in Presque Isle and in Caribou. I think Presque Isle is planning on, or at least talking about, building new hangars. And so they came up with a plan to expand our hangar space. The first phase would extend the current hangar that's there and build 6 more bays to hold 6 airplanes. And then there's a plan to expand beyond that with additional buildings where you could just put these on one single building, like 15 bays for different aircraft. So you have a little diagram in your packet there, kind of just showing how that lays out. And the fourth one was visual approach slope indicator. We don't have, and this is a pilot aid as you're coming into land. It gives you indication of whether you're high or low, and we don't have anything like that. With a small airport like Caribou, it's narrow and it's short, and so there's a certain perception as you're coming into land. If you're used to landing in larger airports, coming into Caribou makes you feel like you're higher because everything's smaller than what you're used to leaking. So it's like a perception thing. And so those visual approach slope indicator lights would give the pilot, some indication of whether they're higher and lower, and to keep them on the correct glide slope coming into the airport. That really is a safety issue as well. And I think that would, again, it would attract additional traffic. Pilots would be more comfortable and safer flying into Caribou, and so that's on their list. So those are the top 4. Penny's agreed to start looking into what we can get financed through FAA grants. We're looking at what to put into the capital budget to accommodate these things. There is a balance in our capital budget now that we can pay for at least the first one, and maybe even the second one. So we're going to be looking at that, and we'll report back what the recommendations are to the council at a later date. Any questions?
I have a comment. I still have concerns about the Jet A fuel, and I think part of that is, wondering if we bring that in, if we are going to have enough people using it. Another thing that I learned about that fuel a few years ago when this came up was that it expires basically. So like we would have to empty that tank every so often if the fuel's not used. So I would wonder how much fuel is going to cost us and how much we would end up wasting by having to get rid of it and start fresh.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I think we should be looking into that.
I'll check into that.
Because it could be a cost that we aren't anticipating to
Right.
keep that restocked all the
That
time.
wasn't anticipated, but along with that new fuel type will be, maintenance and attendance requirements. And so somebody from the city would have to keep watch on it, check on it, I think every day. And they would have to be certified. So there is some expense there, like that's hidden, that you don't see in just buying the fuel in the trailer.
Right.
We didn't discuss the aging out of the fuel. I'll take that back to the group and
Yeah,
see.
check into that.
Yeah.
That definitely was something that
This is
came
a
up
very
a few
good
years
point.
ago.
Okay, thanks.
I wonder if, because it does age out, if there's a possibility if we were to move forward with this, that we could say, we know it, let's say it expires on, I'm using imaginary days, it expires on the 15th of May. Is there a way that we could work with Presque to return that fuel because it hadn't been used and then swap it out? I mean, there's always the possibility of them willing to work with us. I mean, obviously, they're going to use fuel much faster than we are, but I would like to see this. I think this is a good thing. I just think, let's do a little thinking outside the box, and hopefully, we can come up with a refresher plan. Oh, let's swap this out so we don't get stuck with the cost of dumping it.
It's interesting you bring that up because when we thought about where we would buy the fuel,
Mhm.
we would probably buy it in Presque Isle.
Right.
That's the closest. And at what price? Are they going to give us the street price? Are they going to give us some kind of a discount?
Yep.
The good news is that Presque Isle will be motivated to help us because they do not want to get up at 2 in the morning to come and fuel a life flight who's just made a run. And so if we could offload that from them
Yep.
with a mobile capability, a self-serve mobile capability, they would love that. So I think there's opportunity there to partner with Presque Isle on that,
I think
and
that'd
maybe
be
do a
good.
little horse trading on price of the fuel and all of that, in return, like you say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a possibility. I
Okay.
think,
We get together, when we buy our fuel now, we get together sometimes with Frenchville or another community, so we can get it all at once, don't we? for the
I don't
fuel?
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So
do, we
can
partnership
have
with
a
another,
full load come up here.
they bring a whole trailer up, or
Mhm.
however it comes.
Yeah, good. All good ideas. Thank you. I'll take that back to the committee.
All right, item 9D is highway protection, and we have a report from Councilor Watson.
Sure. So we met on Friday, March 6th, and we discussed quite a few things. Some of those are going to have to wait till we flesh out some other things. It's a very interesting, good meeting. Part of that came out that we're listening to tonight is the public service announcement about brush and debris. And we're going to, I guess, discuss this on a 3 level. This was actually decided to be discontinued last year and was briefed to the city council at that point in time. We discussed that we were going to stop this last year, not this year. And part of the problem was that we were getting dangerously close to injuring employees, and that one of the things that were coming forward, I'm trying to explain why we went with the PSA, is that we don't mind picking up the brush. If it's a branch or it's a tree limb or you got a bunch of sticks on the side of the road, we can still accommodate that. That's not the problem. The problem is when you get to spring cleanup, it's almost like if it fits, it ships. So if you stick a bunch of branches in the top of a leaf bag and you say that that's branches, and then you go to lift it and it's not, and it's got things in there that's not supposed to be in there, and then it goes to the landfill, and you get to the landfill, and I don't think, well, Jody could testify to that because he sits on that committee, but you don't just run your trash in anymore. You know, somebody says, hey, look, we're doing spring cleanup. Oh, no big deal. I got 3 tree limbs and a 2x4, and you know, it's painted. And you get to the landfill, it's not going up on the stack. Trees and branches go to the stack. Construction materials go to a different place. Sheetrock goes to a different place. Cans of paint go to a different place. You know, all this stuff. We're absorbing that cost. So in that light, the other thing that came up is that a lot of people tend to want to brush everything to the edge of the road, to the part where we come in with the front end loader and just pick it up and go. And if something doesn't go right and someone's got to get in there and see what's going on, whether it's the leaf sucker or the, you know, the front end loader, and all of a sudden you've got needles and razor blades and dog feces and human stuff that shouldn't be in there either. We're not dressing our people to handle that. That is crazy, and that's dangerous. So, and it would be fine if this was the first year that we've had this problem, but this has consistently been a problem for the last 5 to 7 years. So the deal is that last year it was put out that, hey, one last time, just tree brush and tree debris, and that didn't happen. It was the same thing over and over again. And I understand that we want to punish the ones who are doing bad and protect the ones who aren't. But since you can't do that on the fly because of the way stuff's hidden, how do you do that? They're not finding out who did what to who for how many jelly beans until it's at the landfill, and the landfill's yelling and screaming that they can't bring it in until it's done right. If we want to amend this, and I can see where that could go, we need to understand something else that goes with this, and that'll be part of it if we want to amend it, I can see doing. And that's, we're going to continue to do the leaf pickup in the fall. We have to. There's no choice. It clogs the drains. We have a lot of water hazards. It's a huge ass problem, excuse my language. And that needs to be handled. But if you want to keep some farming, service, whatever tree, then we pick up the branches and they're loose. And that's all that's there. You know, it's not like I can think, and the reason why the word farm keeps coming to my head, there's an old residual farm, like the house and barn is still there. And 3 years ago, the guy decided to clean out his trees, and he did during spring cleanup. And he brought out 6 trees. Is that part of this service? Because the crew stayed there for damn near 2 days collecting all that material. That's not what spring cleanup is. So if we're going to amend this and say we're going to keep this service for those people who are benefiting from it, then give it some teeth, because they shouldn't have to be out there working in a dangerous environment nor should they have to wait for law enforcement to show up and back them up so that somebody goes, well, I didn't know. I don't know, you lived there for 7 years, I think you would know. So if you want to keep this to some extent, then make it so that it's only branches and sticks and they're loose and it's on the edge of the road. Anything else, if you can put it in a bag, that's between you and your trash man. If you feel the need to brush it all up in a neat pile and you want us to pick up the neat pile, you need to do something else. I can't guarantee what's in there. And I don't think city employees should have to worry about sticking their hand in there and getting hurt, injured, or exposed to something that now is a workman's comp claim that we have to deal with for the next 10, 20 years because we were trying to help those few people that are not abusing this.
May
Yeah.
I jump in?
Sure.
I think it's fairly straightforward. And I think there used to be, I think there was even a rule of how much brush you could put out. I just think we need to go back to having very clear rules about what can be put out there. It's brush, it's, sticks, whatever. I think it's very straightforward. I think we're making too much into this, to be honest. If they show up and there's a pile of other things that is not brush or sticks, then they leave it there. And the people are responsible
Agreed.
for cleaning up. They don't clean it up. The city sends them a letter that says you're in violation of
So
whatever.
Agreed. I think, and I agree with you totally. I think if we're gonna do this and you wanna have some part of this service, you drag the branch out to the side of the road. If it's too big to drag, yeah, I can see cutting it in half to make it easier, but it's just sticks.
So we agree with you on that.
On the leaf
But-
service, we're still gonna do that. Nothing changes there. We have no options but to pick up the leaves, because if we don't,
Yeah.
we pay for it later. So I agree that this probably went over in a bad way, but understand where it came from, and I can understand continuing some form of this, but very limited. Because every time we set a limit, as you know, you said yourself, that limit was set years ago, and yet here we are drifting somewhere else.
So, and I have a couple other things I want to say too. So the other thing too is, taxpayers are paying a lot of money in taxes, and this is a service that we have traditionally provided, and I think it's kind of wrong to stop doing that. I personally, I have an issue with that. I just think that we have got to be willing to give some services to people so that when someone comes to Caribou and wants to look at this as a potential new place to move to live or have a business, they don't want to go around seeing all these yards that have twigs and branches everywhere because
No, I agree.
no one could pick them up for people and people couldn't afford to have them removed themselves. So
No, I agree with you.
that's
don't-
why I have a really big issue with this. And I also, the other point I wanted to make is I don't believe that this is really something that should just be decided in a committee meeting. I think this should have been a council vote.
Well,
So that also, I just wanted to kind of call to attention, I guess.
I think the thing there is that this, what we're talking about now, was presented to the council last year.
It was presented in, and I was not, that was a meeting I wasn't at, like the only meeting I wasn't at.
Correct, it was presented, it was presented.
But it was
as an idea.
presented
Yeah,
as
that
a
was-
report out. It
was
wasn't
just an idea.
presented as a discussion for the council,
See-
and it wasn't voted on.
See, I could be mistaken there because I was there and I remember when Joan did it, and my recollection, can't even speak, my recollection.
Recollection?
What I remember, what I remember was that the council pretty much said, yep, sounds good. And maybe not as a vote, but it was pretty much seen as a consensus of thought and theory moving forward. So if that's different, then that's fine. I don't have a problem with that either. All I'm saying is that if you want to amend this for this, I think we go back to being real strict about it. It's trees and branches only.
Yep, agreed.
Okay.
Has the
Do-
public announcement been sent out yet? Has
Yes.
that been?
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and that also was something that I found concerning, but, right.
No?
So again, I think it's something worth looking at rescinding, and we can always make a new announcement.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I would just echo, anything that changes, what the city is doing, I think is a decision that should be made at the council level.
at the very least, at the manager level, and definitely not the department level. So I agree that this rose to the level of importance. I think we should have seen it and voted on it before it went out publicly.
Do we want to try to make a motion or take a vote on this evening? No, it's kind of off the cuff.
What would we be voting on?
To reinstate brush pickup?
Well, yes,
With
I
certain parameters.
agree that we should reinstate it, but I also agree, like Paul said, that there needs to be some strict guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking, should we vote on it, or should we just like have him resend it with certain
We
guidelines?
could have, I don't know, Manager Thompson work with that department and see if they could come up with
Right.
wording that's suitable, and then we could vote on it at the next meeting. I would be fine with that.
Right.
When do we usually do that? Is it?
We've got time.
May?
We got
do?
time.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
usually in May.
Yeah, we've
Yep.
got
It's
time.
right before the big yard sale,
Right.
is when we do
A
it.
couple of things we've done in the past to modify this is at one point, it was just pick it up whenever, and then we refined it to say it's only this week.
Exactly.
Right.
And if you don't have it out, we don't know what day we're gonna be on your road, but it's gonna be
Yep.
done within this week.
Yep.
So we, you know, the crew doesn't know what route they're gonna use. You know, so if you get it out Tuesday and then they don't come get it, so well, you know, we did your road Monday. And the other one was if you're in the side the city limits in the country, so to speak, they will only go out there if you call, and they'll go to that, lead to that address, and they pick one day and go do it. So that was handled that way, so they weren't, just to make it more efficient. You know, that's just some history on that.
Would it be beneficial, though, to maybe have a memo go out to the community that we know that this has sparked kind of a conversation, that we are looking at a possible solution? Don't call Penny every day.
Yeah, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Just,
I
yeah,
think-
I mean, just to kind of let people know, we see it, we hear it, we're working on it.
Yep.
Okay.
It would be helpful to know, I mean, and I'm not minimizing the hazards to the people that are out there working, but has there been any incident of injury to any of our public service employees?
Not directly to the employees, but there has been destruction to equipment. The leaf blower being the most significant one. What happens is when they come in, or the leaf sucker, when they come in and use that, and they have things that aren't supposed to be in the stack, and it comes up and it clogs it, it tends to destroy the inner workings of the chute, and they have to stop what they're doing and take the whole unit back to the garage, do a complete disassemble, which costs man hours and overtime for them to do it, and then they have to get the parts, and then they come back and they have to go back and they do that area again, so it puts them behind by a day or so, which in turn we again pay for in overtime hours.
Yeah, I think for me, that would make a difference in where I stood on this, and I might be convinced otherwise if we have any history of injuries. If we don't, then I think, yes, we have something to deal with. We have to be more clear in our, I guess, in our description of what's allowed and all of that, but I think we ought to continue the service.
Well, I think, I don't have a problem, doing a rescinding and doing it as a vote. None of that bothers me at all. What bothers me is that we need something that's strict and it's clear, and that 10, 15 years from now, someone can look at it and say, that's what it is. I think
Yep.
we've handled this unfortunately in the past with ambiguity, I can't even speak, with almost like a floating base of, well, it's here, we're here, let's pick it up, and then it becomes the new norm. You can't have that become the new norm.
Okay, well, I think we know where we're headed with that, so
Okay.
I think,
So instead of a vote to like rescind a policy that we never made,
Right.
maybe we could vote to ask the manager to go back and look at it and come back with a different proposal that preserves that service.
and we
in
probably
some
don't
way.
even need to vote on that as long as we've given that direction, and then she
Yeah.
can come back with that for us.
Well, it's not direction unless we take a vote on it, but.
Yeah, it is. We do it all the time.
Yeah?
well,
It's
that-
fine to say, Manager Thompson, can you please?
That's a problem. Okay.
It's not a problem,
However you
Counselor
wanna do
Bagley.
it.
Thank you.
However you want to do it.
Okay. So are you all set with that,
I
Manager
think so.
Thompson? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, item number 9E is the city manager's report, and I think you were devoting that time to the budget.
Yeah, I just wanted to answer the questions that came up in public forum, which was the increase in cell phones is because this year the city received a FOIA request for employee phone, everything on employee phones. And so what we were advised to do was that the employees who need phones, to have city phones, which is not, they're not to use them for personal stuff, it's just work. So you have 2 phones, so people have 2 phones now. So that's where that came from. And that was this year because of that FOIA request. And all of the people already have a personal phone. But instead of having them use their personal phone for work, because of that FOIA request, we've requested, using the advice of Maine Municipal and our municipal attorney, to have them have cell phones that are just for their work. And it's not everybody, it's just people who would need them. The emergency management, that increase was because we had to have repairs to the generator at the wellness center. So the wellness center is the emergency shelter if we have some kind of emergency event, and it requires us to have a generator. And so we had to do work on the generator, and that's why that was increased. It was for that.
I'm just saying, there could have been a note on the side.
I think and I think I can address that for you, Mr. Hagelstein, and I think it's during the budget presentations that the department heads give, they actually do talk about those increases, so they do talk about it. If you were to go back and look at the meeting minutes or go back and watch those meetings, you could hear why those increases are there, because they did a really good job doing that this year of really explaining those increases.
Yes, they did.
They did.
So that's really all I had. I just wanted to make sure I had a specific time to answer any questions. And if anyone else has any questions, I can answer those too.
Anything further? Okay. Item number 10 is unfinished business, and 10A is the Caribou Public Library MCA Connectivity Hub Construction Project, and that's on page 131 of your packet. Peter, did you want to speak on this?
Good afternoon. I was alerted on Friday by Matthew Carter, the architect who's been working on our library project, that Andrew Michaud had reached out during the contract development process and mentioned that he had mistakenly left off a piece from his bid that would alter the cost overall for the end contract, which was $6,861.28 for supplementary conditions, including insurance. It looks like it was a whole section that was left off, and the architect has recommended that we adjust the bid to pay out that amount
And this still keeps this bid as the lowest bid that we received.
by $500,000-ish.
Yeah. Great. What are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to amend the accepted bid on March 2nd, 2026 from A&M Construction to include insurance expenses totaling $6,861.28 for the overall acceptance bid of $1,453,461.28.
A second. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
So typically, the city doesn't pay for contractor insurance costs. And so this kind of threw me for a loop when I looked at it, and I reached out to Peter, and unfortunately I wasn't able to see your response. Can you explain to me what insurance beyond what we expect the contractor to pay for their own business that's driving that $6,000 change?
I had a meeting earlier today and happened to have a chance to ask the question and get the specific pages of what it was, which I do have, which I scanned over to you in an email earlier today, but I can sort of walk through it. Specifically, it's for things like general liability, I guess excess liability, contractor's professional liability, workers' comp, and employee liability. I'm pretty sure those are the
The
sections.
city does not pay those costs, ever. So we should not be paying that.
Manager Thompson, I think, did you also send an email regarding this today?
Because I was at the same meeting that Peter was at, And it sounds like he has his, and this is separate from that, but also it probably would have been something in the bid, but he just missed, I guess, this part of the bid, and he would have built it into the bid.
Correct.
Is my understanding from being at that meeting today.
It was mentioned by the architect that it was supposed to be a part of the bid for whatever the insurance is, and that it was accidentally left off, not sort of being tacked on after the fact. And I'm assuming that Matthew Carter has reviewed this to make sure that whatever insurance it is that is being asked for that's left off is.
The customer never pays for liability, professional insurance, never. So this is not a request that we should be considering at all. At the very least, we should look for more information on it. If there's something there that I'm missing, fine. But as far as paying for the contractor's insurance expenses, that's a cost of doing business. That's in the overhead that he already charges us. He does not charge separately for insurance.
Could we have a motion and a second on the table?
We
Are there
do.
any other comments?
I didn't see the email, so I didn't.
Bagley?
No.
Kelly? Aye. Knight Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 10 is the 2026 municipal budget coming back at us for another round. On page 132 of your packet. Okay, so I would just open this up for discussion by the council. For this portion of the discussion, it would just be restricted to the council and Manager Thompson. Manager Thompson, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, I know that we had our budget workshop and multiple things were discussed there. Then the capital committee met again, and I think they want to hear about a leasing option for vehicles before deciding on a number.
Yes.
That was my takeaway from that.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
that's correct.
Deputy Mayor Smith is the chair of that committee, and he could tell you more about that.
Yeah, we're exploring the option of, we're down 2 cruisers right now. We typically fund 1 every year. We're looking into, there's companies, Enterprise, there's all kinds of places around. We're gonna see what the option is to potentially lease some of these vehicles and how it would affect our capital budget. It may not be the right answer. We don't know that until we explore these options. So we're being aggressive on an option there, and that could make a significant reduction in our capital budget. And maybe start with a trial program with a few vehicles. So we won't know what those requirements are from the lease company until we discuss that with them. And it might be an excellent option. So we'll at least explore it. And we revisited a couple other things too. So that's pretty much where we're at on that. We're waiting for that information. So.
Okay, so do we want to go ahead and just move this discussion to our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, item number 10C is an update on the ordinance updating Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 on page 133 of your packets. Now, as I remember at the last meeting, we had kind of said that if anyone had any feedback, to share that, and then Manager Thompson was going to get this sent to our attorney. I think you've received any emails you were going to receive on that. Everyone has had a chance to look at it, so I would
Is there any other
entertain any other
comments before
comments. But
it is sent to Attorney Solomon?
No, I think it's probably best that it goes there
yeah,
at this point.
Me too. Yep,
And
definitely.
then
Just
we
waiting
can
for
talk
him to
about it when
review
it comes
Yeah.
back.
And then we
Yeah.
can introduce it potentially at the next meeting.
Yes. Yep.
And then public hearing and then vote.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Item 10D is tax acquired property at 63 Sweden Street on page 161 of your packet. Penny, did you want to share some background on this?
Sure. So in November 2025, the property at 63 Sweden Street was acquired by the City of Caribou through the automatic lien foreclosure process. If the city council is interested in clearing the title to the property, the former owner could be contacted by our municipal attorney to see if the owner would issue a deed to the property to the city of Caribou. The municipal attorney, Richard Solomon, could also do a check for any other outstanding liens. The outstanding liens on the property that are known are the taxes on the property of $26,659.09 and the outstanding water and sewer to the Caribou Utilities District in the amount of $7,066.56. And these would need to be satisfied or abated. I mean, we would have to pay water and sewer and abate the taxes before conveying to a potential buyer. By accepting the deed, it would allow the city to rehabilitate or sell the property, to restore the property to its highest and best use and get it back on the tax rolls. This is a way to clear up the title. So with the Tyler versus Hennepin County Supreme Court decision a few years ago, there has been a new process implemented in Maine for clearing up titles and being able to put tax-acquired property back on the tax rolls. The fastest way is to try to get a deed from somebody. If we try to go through the entire process, it could take 2 years. So,
Yeah.
but then you have to decide, like, do we want this property, or do we feel that, you know, it's in the city's best interest to take this so they can control what's going to happen there and try to get someone interested to reinvest in the city. So I'm just asking you how to proceed. You know, do you want to go through the regular process? Do you want to try to get a deed to the property?
I want to just put my 2 cents in there, and I've said this from the very beginning. I do believe we should, and I wish we would have already kind of actively done this before, but accept the offer for deed in lieu. This particular person may be a little wishy-washy on decision-making there, and I would like to see us get that and be able to clear the title. Honestly, our downtown is never going to be able to be improved until this building is addressed. So it's just going to sit there and be a liability. It's being vandalized. It's not producing any kind of income or benefit to the city. So I really would like to see us try to get that deed that he did offer at one point.
At one point, he did offer that,
Yep.
yeah.
What you're asking for tonight is just, we're gonna say, the city attorney goes back and say, are you still willing to offer this up?
Mhm.
And then they come back to us for a vote.
Well, he
This-
doesn't want to go back to him and get a deed and then bring it to the city council and the city council say, no, we don't want to accept the deed. Like, the idea is for you to decide if one is presented, you will take the deed.
How long is the deed process?
I mean, it depends on how, you know, when
How
he,
much research?
like, I believe that Attorney Solomon has the deed ready to go.
Okay.
From the last time that they had a
Oh.
conversation. But he would need to do a, you know, a lien search.
update.
Right now is
Right.
you only have to go back 40 years. So
Okay.
he would be able to, you know, get someone on his staff to do that. I can't imagine it would take very long.
I say we move forward.
I personally feel like if we have more control over that building, the better, if we're
Yeah.
still able to.
The Tyler versus Harrington, that's 2-3 years at least. That's a whole headache, which is really
Well,
annoying.
and the state has changed the process a few times too,
Mhm.
and they keep saying they're gonna change it again. But I guess we found that the easiest way, if you wanna try to control these things, is to try to clear up the title, and the best way to that is to work with the former owner to get a deed.
So we're talking around roughly $36,000?
I didn't
Yeah.
do the math, but you're the math person, that would be. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was an article recently in the paper in Ellsworth, they went through some of this, disposing some property. And even though it was before the Tyler versus Harrington
Mhm.
decision, they actually went back and it was such a deal, they actually paid the owners, even though it was prior to that.
So it only matters when you dispose of the property. If you're disposing of the property after the Tyler versus Hennepin County decision, then you have to abide by the disposal rules.
But there was some they disposed
Yeah,
of
right,
prior.
no, but, well, even, there was an attorney from downstate that was trying to get lists of everything, and I think they were trying to start some discontent with people whose properties had been foreclosed before that decision and then were also disposed before that. So we are trying to be very cautious in what we're doing. Everyone knows I'm very risk averse, so I don't want to have something that's going to come back and haunt us later.
That's how you go.
Further
Was this-
discussion?
Yeah, was this one of the buildings that was under consideration to house the police department,
No.
the police station? And what's the
No.
status
Well,
of that?
they did look at this property
The previous study.
previously.
And they ruled it out?
That is my recollection.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of parking there. I
Is it-
mean, there's.
Is the current study looking at that building or
I think
not?
they want to go take a look at it just to see if it would
Okay.
work, you know,
So it's
just.
still in the running?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But they did feel a few years ago it wasn't right, but, you know, things change.
How would that building work as a police station?
Yeah, I don't feel
Annie,
like it probably would.
I mean, where are we gonna get $36,000? Where is it coming from?
So we do, we budget for abatements every year
Okay.
because there's always properties that have to be
Right.
abated. So some of it can come from that.
Okay.
It could come from blight funds because we also budget for that every year. But we still have to pay CUD, you
Right.
know.
Can we
Yeah.
use our TIF funds for that?
It is in a TIF district.
Yeah, so we can use that?
Yep.
Yep, and we have some money in there. So.
So we could probably get it down to about like half, maybe a little less. Rough math in my head.
How much is in those accounts, right off the top of your head, Carl?
Oh, God, I was gonna say,
Do you know?
we don't carry that around with us.
I'm talking about money. We're talking
There's
roughly
quite a bit in the TIF.
$36,000. I'm just, it's budget time, we're talking about cuts, we're talking about doing this, we're talking about that. I'm wondering, this money, like what, Penny had said we're gonna take it from a couple of different accounts, and I'm just wondering what's in those accounts.
It's what was budgeted, so, in Department 11, I think under blight, I think it was 70,000, right?
I'm looking it up right now. Oh, we have it in this one, actually, which is an upside down. Okay, 11, yeah.
50,000.
It's 50,000. That's designated for this, something
Well,
like this.
It's for blighted property.
Okay, all right,
This qualifies.
okay, yeah. I just dotting my i's, crossing my t's, that's all.
We're going to have a cookie sale.
Further,
Big.
further discussion on this?
I got a question. Are the taxpayers going to be paying for this again? For people disposing of their houses and that? Is that where the money comes from too?
Well, this comes out of the TIF district funds, which is not part of the general fund. So when we talk about it being appropriated, it's appropriated out of those TIF funds. It's not out of the general fund.
So taxpayers don't pay for that?
Well, I mean,
Yes, they do, in a way.
in a way, but I mean, yeah.
Not right. That's my opinion.
Okay,
But it's for
remember-
economic development activities, yeah.
Okay, we need to make sure we keep the conversation here. Okay, any further discussion? No. I'm gonna entertain a motion. I don't think anyone made a motion.
Not
No one
yet.
made a motion yet.
Okay.
I move to ask the municipal attorney, Richard Solomon, to contact the former owner of the property located at 63 Sweden Street and inform him that the city council would accept a deed to the property and then abate the property taxes and pay the outstanding water and sewer charges to the CUD.
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Night Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
No.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item number 11A is the authorization to apply for a congressionally directed spending request on page 162 of your packet. And I believe this pertains to the ladder truck that has,
In a roundabout way, we're talking about
Well,
building a big
kind
building.
of.
yes.
Yep. So throughout the 2026 municipal budget process, and even going back to before that, we started talking about it formally back in November, the City Council has heard about the need to plan for a new ladder truck for the Caribou Fire and Ambulance Department. The City of Caribou has the opportunity to apply for a congressionally directed spending request to construct an apparatus bay for a new fire truck. This would be constructed on the south side of the south side of the existing fire station. And maybe you have new numbers, Chief, that you can talk about the size. When we spoke with Tricia House at Senator Collins' office, she said that the application would be looked at more favorably if the city contributed towards the cost of the project and suggested a 10% match. This amount could come from TIF funds. When the downtown TIF district was established, it was stated that the funds could be used within the district for fire station upgrades and reconstruction, which is note G from the approval letter from the Second Amendment dated March 7th, 2014. Applications are due on March 18th, which is Wednesday. The application portal opened on March 2nd, so this is a quick turnaround, but several members of staff are working to gather the needed materials for the application. If the City Council will authorize the city manager to apply, our Fire Chief Brian LaJoy is here. I think he's been working with Amanda Jandro from Harriman also, so they might have more to add to that.
Chief, anything you'd like to share?
Chief, I have some rough numbers if you want to take a look at them. That's total. That includes soft costs and construction.
Good evening. So what we're looking at is building an apparatus bay onto the existing fire station. So the problem that we are having is 1978, when that fire department was built nearly 5 decades ago, it was built for relatively small apparatus. As the years have progressed, equipment keeps getting bigger. We find that not only with our fire trucks, but also our ambulances. So the building was never designed to house both fire and ambulances. We've made it work for several years, but now we're getting to the point where, as in the case with the ladder truck, we have to specifically build the ladder truck so it can fit in the existing building. Most ladder trucks that come off the assembly line are roughly 45 feet in length, which will not fit in our fire station. So we can't take advantage of a truck, let's say, that's on the assembly line and gets put on the lot. So we have to custom build a truck in order to fit in the building. And we have about 39 feet that we have to work with. So with the addition of the bay, that would allow us, let's say, build a truck or just buy a spec truck and put it in that apparatus bay. It would also free up a bay on the floor where we could spread out our ambulances further, giving us more room to put our ambulances, because we are maxed out. We have 3 bays on the lower level, which used to be our wash bay, our work bay, and our training bay. Those are all full of equipment, because over the years, we require more equipment to do the job that we do for rescue and fire and ambulance. And that equipment, we obviously don't like to leave outside, so we store it in the building. So, Amanda, so the roughly what we're looking at a 30-foot wide by 100 feet long bay. It would give us the ability to store the ladder truck, and it would also give us the ability to store some additional equipment that we have instead of packing it all in the station as it is now. Because what happens now is if we have an emergency, we need a trailer, rescue trailer, whatever, and we have to jockey things around to get that stuff, and that's not really the time to be doing that. We should be able to just go with it and do what we need to do. So, so the cost that Amanda has put out, these are just rough estimates now, and that's all. You said the soft costs and everything.
So this would be the construction costs, and that has an estimation of 12 months. So like a 2027 start date. So that one's about $2.8 million just for the construction. of the 3,000 square feet. And then for soft costs, that would include geotechnical explorations, architectural and engineering fees, state fire marshal survey. That would be another 300,000 for all of that. And then we always recommend that you carry like a 10% contingency, so that would be another 290 roughly. So total, all in, everything would be 3.4 million.
And we're looking at a 10% match that can be paid from TIF district funds.
10% match if we get the,
Right,
If we get it.
if we get the grant, or the, the congressionally directed spending.
Do you have a sense of what our cost savings would be on the ladder truck? That if we buy spec versus custom?
Yeah, I've done a little research on that. A spec truck that comes off the line, you're looking for what we need, is anywhere from 1.6 to 1.7 million. Right now, our truck that we are having the custom built is going to be anywhere from 1.8 to 2 million, so about $250,000 less.
So you almost got your investment back right there. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I would imagine that would apply whether we leased or bought.
Yeah.
You would get lower lease rates on a spec
Right.
vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, what are the wishes of the council?
Who's reading? I can read. Where am I starting here? To authorize city manager Penny Thompson to apply for a FY 2027 congressionally directed spending request with a project title of Caribou Fire Station Apparatus Bay Expansion Project and designate a 10% fund match for the project to come from the revenue generated within the downtown tax increment financing district.
I second it.
A motion and a second, further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Knight Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right.
Good luck.
Item 11B is an authorization to loan $90,000 in FAA entitlements to the Princeton Airport. And I know we discussed this at our last meeting briefly. Everyone has the information in front of them.
This is FAA money, basically. We've done this before. We
Yes,
shuffle it
we
back.
have. We
borrow
have
it
been
from
the
them.
beneficiary of doing this when we built the hangar, and we have loaned our entitlements before. And it's just, they're not getting enough this year to finish their hangar. They just want to borrow them for a year till their entitlements come in next year. And we don't have a project this year.
Wishes of the council?
To authorize the city manager, Penny Thompson, to execute the paperwork needed to loan $90,000 in FAA entitlement funds to the town of Princeton to be repaid in FY 2027.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Knight Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 12 is reports and discussion by mayor and council members. I would start down with Councilor Watson.
Nope, I'm good.
Councilor Kelly.
I'm good.
Councilor Knight Fair.
I'm good.
Deputy Mayor.
No, I think I covered everything earlier.
Councilor Lovewell.
I don't have anything tonight.
Councilor Bagley.
Nothing further, thanks.
Wow, look at that. It's a clean sweep. Nothing from me either. Our next regular meeting will be on April 13th. We do have some executive sessions on the agenda for this evening. What are the wishes of the council?
Somebody else's turn.
I'll move into that we go into executive session for union negotiations pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 405.6.d for fire department union.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Further discussion. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Knight Fair?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Watson?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So this does end the public portion of our meeting for this evening. I thank you all for attending. If everyone could turn off your microphones.
We don't want that to happen again, huh? When the buttons didn't get hit, that was like.
Hi. Yeah.
You mentioned that the diesel plant might be coming down this week.
Yeah.